Simultaneously, we are working on the individual and the collective level, always. And both of those, individual and collective, require divinity, God, deity, to become complete and to solve our problems and difficulties. We are creatures created by a creator, meant to have a relationship with that creator. It is literally impossible to solve the problems of the individual and of the collective without the keys from the spiritual experience, the keys from the creator. And mark my words, they will never be solved within yourself, myself, within the world, unless we can go to that level. It really is a high spiritual ideal that we are striving to attain here, folks, at our own pace and in a well-balanced, poised manner. Because along with that comes the solutions and keys to every aspect of our life. Relationships, lifestyle, jobs, all of the mundane, and they are purely mundane. Mundane just means not spiritual. You know, going to a great concert is mundane. Going to a great concert and taking drugs is mundane. Having an acid trip is mundane. Because when you tap into the spiritual, you will see how much more profound and otherworldly and blissful that experience is. And so remember, that high spiritual ideal is a service motive. As we master ourselves, we master the world around us. As we change ourselves, we change the world around us. If your motive is service, then you'll really have the strength of character in order to change and master yourself. So there's kind of this really nice little harmony that's happening there between self-mastery and also this service motive. And the book points out, the Urantia book points out, that there is a lot of strife caused between people not knowing the proper balance to strike between when to appease yourself and when to appease others. But the overall motive is service. It's not a selfish motive. When your motive is service, the backbone of it, then you will find the ways which make your own. Remember, you can best be served by serving others. So you're actually going to find ways that make your life easier through that. We're looking at page 1107, the characteristics of religion today. This is under the real nature of religion. So many great tidbits here, so let's get into this and we'll talk as we go. Religion is so vital that it persists in the absence of learning. They're taking religion back from being a dirty word. We associate religions with man's religions, and that's why many of us say we're spiritual, not religious. But religion just is your personal relationship. I mean, it has various meanings. It's defined in various ways. There's revelational religion, personal religion, man's societal religions, fear-based religions, and that sort of thing. But let's look at it as the pure sense of the word here. It's vital in that pure sense, your relationship to God, deity, divinity. It persists in the absence of learning. It lives in spite of its contamination with erroneous cosmologies and false philosophies. Even garnished within Christianity, there is enough of Jesus' teachings that it really has impacted the entire world. Even though we have our Noah garbage, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm apologizing to people who are still of this mindset that Noah hoarded every single animal on a fucking boat. But whatever, that's just my own shortcoming that I get worked up over those types of stupidities. But, you know, I don't want to take that away from somebody if that's their way to channel into God. You know, I'm not trying to do that. I don't want to be that person that's taking that away. But I just am saying, you know, even within all that, the God relationship is persisting. The God relationship hasn't gotten corrupted. It survives even in the confusion of metaphysics. Confusion of metaphysics, folks. Take your whole Paramahansa Yogananda, all his metaphysician, Not saying that all of that's garbage, because there's a lot of reality that he's tapping in, but there's that half-truth mixture that they have to mix in their metaphysics, because they're lacking revelation, and we'll learn about that more. In and through all the historic vicissitudes of religion, there ever persists that which is indispensable to human progress and survival: the ethical conscience and moral consciousness. See how this is persisting? It's even going to persist through the AI age, people. All right? I don't see what do they call it, a singularity where AI takes over and runs amok. I see people pulling the plug long before that. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the future. I mean, it's possible that we destroy ourselves on this planet. But even if we do, we're only destroying, or we'll let the AIs destroy us. I don't know. But even if so, they're only destroying the material aspect of us and who we are. Faith insight, or spiritual intuition, is the endowment of the cosmic mind. That's a great meditation, people, that you can do. A mantra for people. You know, when you're sitting there in bed or something and you're racing thoughts, get in tune with the cosmic mind here, folks. That's a good technique that I've been using personally, is stilling the mind. And you have two minds. We have two minds, but only one will. We can only think from one of those minds at any given time. So why not choose the cosmic? In association with the thought adjuster, which is the Father's gift to man. That's your fragment of perfection, spiritual within you. Spiritual reason, not blind faith. Soul intelligence, see these positive words, is the endowment of the Holy Spirit. That's the third person of the Trinity, and that is the mind aspect. See that? Intelligence, reason. The creative spirit's gift to man. Spiritual philosophy. The wisdom of spirit realities. Now, that's where we say God wouldn't change his mind when he saw Jesus on the cross. God has an ancient, his attitude transcends time. It's an eternal attitude. It doesn't change when a little event, that's a mundane event that happened here on the planet Earth, with Jesus on the cross. That didn't change God's attitude. Now that is where we access wisdom. And honestly, I feel bad for Christians that think that if they access spiritual wisdom, that they're going to have to go to hell. That's the difficult nature here that we're trying to get through. We're trying to break through to them, to teach them more about this eternal nature of God, this eternal loving nature that they believe in, but they're just not able to put the maybe sagacity or whatever together in order to weave this wisdom. It's the endowment of the Spirit of truth. Now that's another aspect within us that's working in our favor. The combined gift of the bestowal Son to the children of men, and the coordination and inter-association of these spirit endowments. Remember, we're trying to get for that totality here. Constitute man as a spirit, personality, and potential destiny, right? We can actualize, folks, this is the point of this video here. We're trying to attain the next level here while on earth. Buddha maybe called it enlightenment. It's a different feeling. You feel like you're in a Marancha state. I've only had fragments of it. Maybe you're even in it permanently because you're far beyond where I am. But we want to attain this. And then we will have such insight on what we are supposed to do in order to make this world a better place. That's what I mean when I say, as you master yourself, you master the world around you. You'll be at such a level, you'll know exactly who to talk to, exactly what to say to that person, in order where to move to, where to everything, in order to make the greatest good for the most amount. It is the same spirit personality in primitive and embryonic form, the adjuster possession of which survives the natural death in the flesh. This composite entity of spirit origin and association with human experience is enabled by means of the living way provided by the divine sons. They are way showers. That's our Jesus of Nazareth there, but there's many of them. To survive in a juster custody, the dissolution of the material self of mind and matter. They're not going to survive. That mind is going to cease to function, that material mind, and same with that body. And when such a transient partnership of the material and spiritual is divorced by the cessation of vital motion, so we're transferring that via the soul into what is going to live on, the spirit and the soul, so that even though those things don't survive, when you become spiritual, then you have eternal survival. Through religious faith, folks, the soul of man, and this is what so many don't understand. How could faith? Geez, for everything else I had to work and do it, and I had to, invent a machine that would maybe they're trying to do cryogenic freezing so that they could invent a machine to keep you alive, and then they'll thaw you when they understand the cure, blah, blah, blah. That's not how you're going to live forever. Faith. The soul of man reveals itself and demonstrates the potential divinity of its emerging nature by the characteristic manner in which it induces the mortal personality to react to certain trying, intellectual, and testing social situations. So not even just life after death, using that to navigate the problems of the world, these mundane difficulties, which don't seem mundane in comparison because that's all we really know, unless we've had some sort of profound experiences, but they seem like they're life and death down here kind of situation. Oh no, my God, blah, 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 my job, blah. But it's the same way that we live forever is the same way that we navigate these situations. This religious faith. Genuine spiritual faith, true moral consciousness, not human moral consciousness, because that is fallible, debate relative to the times and so forth, is revealed in that it, one, causes ethics and morals to progress despite inherent and adverse animalistic tendencies. So that's why we say God is interested in what you can do, not what you can't do. That's your animalistic tendencies, but you can even be progressing and so forth, even though you can't get away from that 6-pack of beer, or that, T-bone steak, whatever it may be. Produces a sublime trust in goodness of God, even in the face of bitter disappointment and crushing defeat. Usually, even in my life, I've witnessed it. When I'm defeated, I go even more towards God, which is counterintuitive, because intuitively you might think you're going to start to deny, and some do, but I believe they're denying their religious aspect of God, not the true spiritual understanding. Generate profound courage and confidence despite natural adversity and physical calamity. That's transcendence. Exhibits inexplicable poise and sustaining tranquility, notwithstanding baffling disease and even acute physical suffering. Okay, so that's again counterintuitive. You'd think, geez, this religious Jesus is suffering up there. Wouldn't he be going crazy and ranting like a lunatic? No, he was exhibiting poise. And forgiving those around him. Maintains a mysterious poise and composure of personality in the face of maltreatment and the rankest injustice. Again, Jesus on the cross, forgiving those around him. Maintains a divine trust and ultimate victory in spite of the cruelties of seemingly blind fate and the apparent utter indifference of natural forces to human welfare. So while we're reading this, you really can start to change your mind over to cosmic mind and see there's really these two simultaneous levels happening here. There's the material and there's the spiritual happening simultaneously. And these things are of the material here. But we can tune our mind at any time, folks. Any time to that cosmic mind and start thinking from that higher self. Persists in unswerving belief in God despite all contrary demonstrations of logic and successfully withstands all other intellectual sophistries. I think before I read this book, I would get into debates with people and I'd lose the debate because I was trying to prove that God is a reality, but you can't do that. There's no sort of thing. So if you're mired in this, me versus them debate, I just use faith and say, hey, I know. How do you know what I don't know or what I do know? You can't know what I know, because then you would be God and you'd be disproving your own side. So nobody's going to disprove God also, and nobody's going to prove God. Continues to exhibit undaunted faith in the soul's survival, regardless of the deceptive teachings of false science and persuasive delusions of unsound philosophy. This book is 100%. Nobody's going to scientifically disprove this type of stuff. You might scientifically disprove the concepts, which the Urantia book even says these concepts are going to be changed and amended as time. We even foresee them now. So you're not disproving them because you're actually proving it right. When you amend a concept that the Urantia book put forth scientifically, you're proving the Urantia book because it said these concepts are going to be changed as your science grows. There's nothing but, if there's a scientific dogma, like, all right, for instance, this is just a quick aside. These people are contemplating what's going on with these orbs that are floating around, whatever, all this orbs and all this, oh man, what do they call it? Drones and everything like that. I saw them on Joe Rogan. They're talking a million ways from Sunday about what these things are. Never once will they say, oh, well, maybe it's a spiritual phenomenon. Maybe it's enseraphimed beings showing themselves that are being brought to and from, planets. And that's a scientific dogma right there, folks. You're closing yourself off to that possibility. That's called a scientific dogma. If you're not trying to open your mind and say, maybe it's a spiritual phenomenon, and you're just saying, no, we don't do spiritual phenomenons. Dogma, false science in that case. Just like a religious dogma. Science is, Okay. Lives and triumphs irrespective of the crushing overlord of the complex and partial civilizations of modern times. So we live in a failed society. Every aspect, every institution is a failure. So don't even try to pretend like any of them are not. There's good people that are working within them to make them better and that sort of thing. But every institution is a failure, and that's because it's a partial civilization. It's piecemealed. It's rebellious civilization. There's a mix of the godly in there, and there's a mix of evil in there. So it's going to persist right on through that. We can't fail. There's no failure here when it comes to spirituality. Contributes to the continued survival of altruism in spite of human selfishness, social antagonisms, industrial greeds, political maladjustments. That's what we're living here right now. And people are still being altruistic. They might even give their last dollar or close to it. Steadfastly adheres to a sublime belief in universe unity and divine guidance, regardless of the perplexing presence of evil and sin. What a phenomenon here that so many people are still of this mind, even what we experience today. Goes right on worshiping God in spite of anything and everything, dares to declare, even though he slay me, yet I will serve him. Must be a Bible quote. We know then by three phenomena that man has a divine or spirits dwelling within him. Okay, oops. Here's those ways. First, by personal experience, religious faith, your own religion, however you want to do it. okay? Because you're showing that you're being transcending of all these things. If you can have faith through all of this, they're saying, hey, that doesn't make sense. That's not logical that somebody would believe in this unseen, unknown thing through all this. I mean, wishful thinking wouldn't cut it. Wishful thinking wouldn't make over half the world's population still believing in this thing called God, even though we have this maladjusted world, or however they called it. Second, by revelation. And this is huge, people. I really want to point this out because revelation is just a reality in the universe that we have to begin to accept. And this book is the fifth. Now look, there's personal, which you can have to yourself through meditation and whatnot, or maybe in a trying, difficult time or something. And then there's racial, which is this. For all the races, this whole revelation, this unearned knowledge, this book. It's a fact that we have to understand. And I know why some people may be skeptical, because there's so many books of Mormon out there and you read it and you're like, really? This is the revelation? You got to be open-minded and you have to read this book for yourself. And I really think that if you can't conclude that this is by advanced beings by the time that, then there's something wrong with your approach. Maybe you're just too skeptical. I don't know what it is, but if you're open-minded and you read this, it's undeniable that this is a true spiritual revelation by advanced beings. It's just way too brilliant, insightful, all of that. And people say, geez, well, what, it must have gotten changed. Like, I don't believe the Bible was a pure document. That must have gotten changed, so forth. So obviously the Urantia book got changed. How easy would it be for God to put a book on the planet without any errors? I mean, you made the planet itself. You don't think you can put a freaking book on it? What the hell? So it's pure, folks. Every single word, every single syllable in this is a revelation. It's just a fact in the universe. Revelation, I believe, is not very hard for other beings to grasp. It's like breathing. They're like, oh, revelation? Yeah, they're not like saying, oh, should we believe in the revelation or what is it? They're like, you know it when you see it. And this is it. And third, by amazing exhibitions of such extraordinary and unnatural reactions to his material environment as are illustrated by the foregoing recital of the 12 spirit-like performances in the presence of the actual and trying situations of real human existence. We just read those 12. And there are still others. And it is just such a vital and vigorous performance of faith in the domain of religion that entitles mortal man to affirm the personal possession and spiritual reality of that crowning endowment of human nature. Religious experience, crowning endowment of human nature. Religious experience, not getting the job, not graduating the school, none of it. It's all of the mundane. There's only one crowning endowment. Can you have it with somebody else in a monogamous relationship? Sure, you could reach it together. Do you need to? No. Is just the monogamous relationship the crowning endowment? No. So it's not marriage, it's not having children or anything, folks. It's literally, and it's the only thing that is 100% within your control. Isn't that something? None of those other things are 100% in your control. You might want to be a billionaire and work your ass off. You just don't get there. And sometimes people will put the gun to the head or whatever because they think they're a failure. This is 100% within your control. And it's the crowning achievement. So let's try to remember to keep our minds spiritual, to keep that goal in sight for ourselves, that we want to master ourselves and have a high spiritual ideal, self-mastery, self-restraint, self-control, self-discipline. And when we make a mistake, as I often do on my path, just move right beyond it. It's a learning experience. You learn the lesson and you don't dwell and you just say, well, next time I'm going to try more. All right, folks, that's the video for today. Please like and subscribe. That's the characteristics of religion. Undeniable, undisputable.